And good evening, everybody. This is Pontiac Power Hour episode number 38. I am Buff from Buff's Garage, and next to me,
Ray from Punisher Lemans Garage.
all right. How you been, Ray? It's been a busy week.
Oh, I've been busy. How about yourself, buddy?
Um, been very busy. I had my first disappointment on old Brian Vantana because he decided to tell me a little fib. He told me I had about a quarter of a tank of gas, but for some reason it didn't want to drive down the road. And by the time I got it pulled over, just give it a little tappy tap on the dash, and the old gauge went blink down to empty. I was like, oh no.
Well, that happens, man.
Yeah. But never discount the tappy tap. It fixes a lot of stuff.
Actually, I tappy tapped my fuel pump today on my Le Mans because it quit working.
And it fixed it, right?
Right.
See, don't forget that, guys. You can
you
go to.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Yep. Let's see. I'm running over to the chat here. We had Colleen Tebow pop in. She said she might not make it tonight, but hopefully her friend Master of None Garage would make it. We got Does Nothing Special here. Fox Can Fix It in the house. Mongrels, our Canadian brother upstairs from us. We got Hunter from Sand Mountain Ballistics. 6% recycled. Roland Torque Racing Production. What are we back at? We're back at something.
I see that.
But we're here. We got Danny Boyd. He's the master of our trivia every week. Let's see. Tony made it. Nice to see you, Tony. Chris Cresswell. All right, guys. Well, we have a special guest all the way from the land down under. And we've seen him in our chats before. I have been on his show. His name is Brett, and he's Copperhead Kustoms out of Australia. So you guys come up with some questions for him, and we're going to welcome him to the show. Hello, Brett.
There is everyone.
We're doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
I have a question. Would it offend you if I said, "G'day, mate"?
No. you Americans don't quite get it right, though.
I tried, man.
G'day, mate.
That's right. You got to do it right.
I had to, though.
Yeah.
And for everybody watching, wherever you're at in the world, we are here in the Midwest where it is 8 p.m. Central on a Thursday. But where you're at, Brett, it's tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us right after breakfast.
I've been in the shed working, and I just come up to do this. So
awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. Now, for those that don't know, there's obviously Pontiacs in Australia, and we're going to kind of jog through some of the realities for a car owner like you who does actually modify cars in Australia. So, like, for you, what's your favorite Pontiac that you have available to you?
they're pretty scarce down here. So I've sort of got four, like, so I've got an Oakland, so that's kind of a Pontiac, isn't it?
That is
so
absolutely.
I've got a 28
Yep.
I've got a 28 Oakland that I'm building. That's going to be a roadster pickup, and then I've got the 54 Star Chief, so that's left-hand drive. That was so the Oakland's a right-hand drive, so that was obviously the body built over here. The 54 Star Chief's left-hand drive, so that was an import. And then I've got a 65 Parisian, which I think is basically that's a four-door hardtop. It's basically your Bonnevilles, I think.
Yep.
But so they're sort of half Canadian, half Australian assembled. They're a bit of a hopscotch. Is that the word? Like they have that come out with a 283 Chev in it. It has like a Chevy dash in it. Like, so they're basically the Chev, but with a Pontiac body, as opposed to having the Pontiac motors. And then we've also got a 70 Parisian as well, four-door hardtop. And that one was in an accident that I picked up. And so here's the reality. I could not get the parts for that to fix it. I was anywhere. So I was actually going to have, although the guard was unsalvageable, but I've fixed it. And then the headlight surrounds and stuff, I was in the process of getting them 3D printed. But my mate Stephen over there, he's actually found them. Kentucky, I think he found all the bits for me that I wanted. So it's going to cost me a fortune, but he's sending them over to me. So, but that's taken about a year to find those parts to
Wow.
fix that. So, you probably wouldn't have seen much of that car. It's an orange one, because it's sort of, I got it to a point and then I just sort of pushed it out to the side, and because we were on a hold up with the bits,
Oh yeah, and it's no different here. Obviously, we just have a little bit closer proximity to maybe grab them. But like my '63 Pontiac Grand Prix, the parts for it, I'm not saying they don't exist, but they're really hard to find. And unless you got somebody really special out there that finds and sends you the part, you're kind of at the mercy of the aftermarket, and who knows what that is. That's actually why I jumped to air ride on my Pontiac Grand Prix, was because it was quicker, faster, cheaper to throw airbags on it than it was to try to source out new springs. So
yeah. So with those Parisians that I've got, they're basically got Holden suspension in them. So that's what they're a real mismatched car. So it's very similar. I think it's a very similar front end to what yours is,
right.
On my 65. But yeah, that's what I mean. They've got a Chev dash, they got Chev motor and trans in them. Like the 70's got a 350 Chev because I went checking. I actually checked that yesterday because I heard that the Pontiac starter motor's on the opposite side to the Chev. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. I don't remember.
Yeah, so
basically a lot of the older Pontiacs, the starter motors are actually mounted to the trans, not to the engine.
So they're definitely Chev motors in them, but like that red one, I bought that at auction. I had no running gear, and I had the motor sitting there. It was for one of my hot rods that I was building, and I stole the motor out of it to get that one going.
That is a super clean car too. I really like that.
Pardon?
So that is a super clean car too. I really like that.
The red one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite nice. I got it pretty cheap for what it is. So there was no VIN tags on it or anything, but there's a number on the chassis rail, and I did all my research on it. I found out that it was advertised with no numbers, but I went and looked at it and found that number, and then did my research, and that was the only year in Australia that there's no VIN tag. That's the number. So I knew that I could get it registered, and then I'd gone through it, and there was in the boot there was a Holy Sniper, and there was all these bolt-ons in the boot. There was about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of bolt-ons in the boot of it.
Right.
So I wasn't anywhere near stopping bidding. I had heaps more to go before I was tapping out on the auction. I got it. So I got it really cheap. So the car owes me about a quarter of what it's worth. So, but like the motor I built in the shed. So that didn't owe me much because I built it myself and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's worked out well. It's nice. It drives nice. It's like my daily, basically. I sold my Mercedes, and now I drive that around. So
awesome. Now, I don't want to get into all of the stuff because I've heard some of the stories already, but you guys have some restrictions on what you can do to cars and modify them and that kind of thing. So how does that affect you as a classic car owner in Australia?
So those Pontiacs are pretty illegal, but there's a lot of stuff you can't do. So it's more on when I build my rat rods is more the issue I have. They're all they're like in a bit of a grey area, what I build on them. Like probably to be 100% letter of the law, I wouldn't get them through. I'm sort of tickling on the fence a bit with them, but those Pontiacs are all pretty good. But like you can't tub them, or you can't have stuff hanging out the bonnet, or there's just They're very, very strict on what you can and can't do. You can't go really in the state I'm at. If you modify the car in any way, shape, or form, you've got to get it approved.
Right.
So if you were to change the seats, you'd get, um, so the stuff that you guys are driving, there's no way that a lot of the stuff over there, there's no way they would let us put it on the road. You know what I mean? Like you can't have any rust. You can't they're so strict. You change the seats around, you need to get it engineer approved and like all sorts of stuff.
So changing the steering wheel on my van in the parts store parking lot would probably not go over well.
No, not by letter of the law.
Right.
No.
So
But,
pretty much everything I drive and everything I do is too much for Australia. So I just want to say, Australia, we all look up to you guys. We think y'all are badasses down there, and my car's too much for Australia. So I kind of dig that.
So
Yeah, it's like. Sorry, you go.
I have a few questions. You see all these videos of Australia, like doing all these wicked, crazy burnouts and massively built cars. How do they get away with it?
They're not allowed. They're not legal.
Oh, okay.
They're not
'Cause you
legal to
guys
drive
are-
around. So different states are different, but yeah, they're not. None of them are actually legal to drive around. They're either like doing either in the grey area, like it was registered. They had the car
Right.
registered, because once your car's registered, you can keep it registered. Then you can like put it in the shed and modify it, and not get it inspected. But then the police can come and defect that car and make you go and get it, like cancel your rego or make you go and get it inspected. But a lot of those in those burnout shows and stuff you're talking about, those cars get trailered there. They don't get driven around on the road. They just get trailered there. They're built just to do those burnouts. So
Yeah. So they get to have them. They just can't put them on the road.
So you guys are,
Yeah.
Australians are known for wild burnouts. Like us in America, we envy you guys the way you guys do your burnout pits. Like we have nothing on you guys. And
well, that's just because we've been at it longer, I suppose. Like they started that back when I was a kid. Those events. Like now they've gone a bit feral now. Like I wouldn't go to one personally. Like they've gone a bit stupid. The spectators are, I don't know if it's just society, but the spectators are all just acting like morons. And there's footage of like the cars, and they're all the crowds all around and all touching them and whatever while they're running and they're driving. And then there's like people in the crowd leaning in and blapping the throttle linkage on a blown like 1,000 horsepower big block while he's sitting there in traffic. Like
Yeah.
it's gone a bit stupid.
Yeah, I felt like we were too close at No Name Nationals when certain people were running their cars in the burnout pit. Like we had walls between us and them, and even then I felt like, I'm a little too close. So for them to just kind of do whatever the heck they want, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, but like those events started like in the 80s, early 80s, so they've just evolved more and more, and now there's people that are just driving them like they're like nutters,
Right.
like they're just driving them in like full wide open 160 mile an hour. They're entering that burnout pit like just about rolling them, and then they're lucky if they get a minute, out of they're just hitting the limiter the whole time, and I'm like just shaking my head going, you don't really have to punish your car that much, like to do it, but
Right.
that's what they get fun out of. See, I was more dirt track person, so
Oh, right.
yeah, I used to race super late models, so I'm more into that than the burnout side. But
I have a stupid question on dirt because I'm a dirt track guy too. Do you guys go the opposite way that we do?
no, same way. So I used to race super late models, so that like what you guys have. Most of the Australian classes, we all go the same way as you do, but the Australian classes are right-hand drive. So it actually, like, it's so dangerous because all your weight's on the wrong side. You know what I mean? Like the cars just want to roll all the time. And I've rolled a few, like pretty scary, had some pretty nasty prangs, and then in the lower divisions, and then the wife was like, no, you go back into late models. You go back into a 900 horsepower one that's way safer than driving these other ones, But because they're built left-hand drive, and you're turning left. That's sort of how it's meant to be, isn't it? Like your weight's counteracting you, But there is one class called street stocks, and they'll go both ways. So as they roll out on the track, the 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 marshal or whatever you want to call him, he says which way they're going, clockwise or counterclockwise. So that's just so they have to set their cars up neutral.
That's wild.
Sorry, I just enjoy hearing all of this stuff. I know it's the same, but it's different, right? I mean, we have those subtle little differences that are. It's fun to me to see. Well, that's really close, but just a little different, and so it's fun to hear all that.
We're getting more and more and more restricted on what we can do. I don't know. I'd probably sort of compare us. We're a bit like California, I think, like overruled. That's how I'm sort of comparing it now. Like even with a Silverado or something, like half of them we can't have over here because they don't meet our emissions, or like they're real strict on all of that. Like big motors, and they've gone real strict on a lot of that stuff. Like now we don't actually have a car industry anymore. There's no cars built in Australia, so all we do is import stuff now. So
which is really that's really crazy for me to think about, because I feel that America has really strict emission standards for the most part, and you're saying you guys are stricter. And I know we are one of the only countries that can just modify our cars however we want to in about 40 of the 50 states.
So they're like a F650. There's only so many. They won't let you bring them in anymore. Like I think even F450s you can't bring in anymore. And even back, I don't know, say 20, like all the 35, they're stopping everything now. Like, so even we used to be able to bring the old Silverados and stuff in, the Julies and that. They've stopped you bringing them in now, because now we don't make Utes anymore. So we're bringing in the newer Silverados and stuff now. So now they don't want you bringing in the old ones because it will affect you buying a new one,
Right.
We have a Holden Ute running around in Joplin where I live, and it's right-hand drive. That thing is so cool. I'm jealous that you guys have those things and we don't.
What was that one?
The Holden Ute.
Oh yeah, the Holden Utes. Yeah. Well, see, like that was to be the cars that I used to do, as in when I first retired, I started playing with cars a bit, like, and then I worked out if, like, I was doing them for myself to keep. Then I worked out if I did one and sold it, it paid for me to do one for me to keep, so that wasn't costing me anything. So then I started doing those Holden Utes as the cars that I went and sold. So yeah, I've had hundreds of them. Like, we're just sort of brought up with Utes, and like, you guys don't really have them. You have that El Camino and the Ranchero, I think. But yeah, everything's a Ute down here. Used to be. If you could get a car, it was a Ute. But like with those stuff, the hot roddy stuff that I build, like, they're meant to go through full engineering inspections. Like they need to have 3 major inspections, and everything has to be done exactly how they want, and you can't run certain motors, and you can't put big fat tires, and there's all these rules and what you got to do. Like, the chassis all has to be completely boxed, and you can't weld on it after the first inspection, and yeah, it's like a nightmare, some of the stuff to get legal down here. Whereas I watch the guys that do what I do, the rat rod builders and that over there, and they just do what they want, build anything they want out of anything, and it's like they're driving it around legally, and there's no way I can pull that off.
Yeah.
So
that's why you'll see some of my builds are a little bit like they're probably not as radical as I'd like them. Like, I can't get them as low as I'd want, and I can't do so the one I'm building now, I was going to airbag it, and I'm not allowed to.
Oh, so you couldn't airbag it there? That's crazy.
Not on this hot rod. No, I'm not. I haven't looked into if I could like airbag the Pontiac or something. But yeah,
Right.
the hot rods, I'm not allowed to airbag it.
Wow. That kind of, yeah, that changes a lot of options.
That is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
so it's got to be a minimum like 4 inches is that can't be anything lower than 4 inches off the ground
Okay. Well,
at
I
any time.
definitely would fail with the 63 Pontiac because it touches the frame.
Yeah, so when I'm building them, I make everything, try to make it at like lowest is 5 inches. So like that one I'm building, I wanted it a little lower because I just know if that was a bit lower, it would look so much like it would look so good, but you just can't do it. See, like you can modify stuff a little bit, but you just can't. You got to have it. It's got to be within their approvals, And then when you modify them, you've got to go get them inspected, and like they call it a mod plate up here. So, like if anything, you can put a supercharger on one of those Holden Utes. You can go put a supercharger under bonnet supercharger on it, and get it legal. But you've then got to send it in, pay like $1,000 or $500. I'm not sure what it is, and get a mod plate put on it. The engineer approves what you've done, and then But like you can't go and tub a car
Right.
and put like 14-inch rims under the back or anything like that. There's no way.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just, I think most everybody here in the U.S. and of course in our chat, we are all definitely enamored by the lifestyle and of course the perception and images that we have grown up watching about Australia. Everything from the stereotypes and cliches to just some of the stories you hear out of there. And so then to go fast forward and the realities of what it's actually like to live there, it's just truly interesting.
Yeah, I suppose we come across like these I don't know what the word, like what is the word? Bit like rough and ready, I suppose, and we can do whatever we want and not ruled, no lawlessness, I suppose. But yeah, it's the opposite lately. It's getting worse and worse. So, I think everyone thinks that we're all can do what we want, but I think we're like California, personally. They're pushing electric cars at the moment. They're pushing them hardcore. Like, yeah, you can't put your aircon on in summer because you get the electricity cuts out. But yeah, they're pushing electric cars.
Yep, that sounds like California. You guys need your own Donald Trump. That's what you need.
Yeah, mate, I'm telling you, I'd love him to come here and run this place.
Buff, I can't hear
you. No, I can't hear him either.
Stand by. How about now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I apparently somehow hit the button. Sorry. What I was saying.
I was trying to lip read.
I mean, hopefully you got it. Basically, what I was saying is, yeah, we need something. You guys need something like that, but get one with a little less controversy, maybe a little more streamlined. Just nice, clean version to go in there and shake some things. But it sounds like you guys have already
wouldn't vote him in.
Yeah, exactly. You guys have already moved down that path to where it's kind of too far, and that's what's happening here. Let's be honest. People want to say that we're not having this in the U.S., but we are. It's
no, you're just not quite as far. Like California and us are the same, but you're heading in that direction. Yeah, I don't know.
It's that trickle down. We'll get there. And I want
to move. I want to get out of here. I'm planning on moving to America. Like I've just got to get all my ducks in the row organized, and then I'm heading over.
When you do, I got a couch you can sleep on.
I was going to say, come on over.
But the plan is that 54 Star Chief's up for sale, and when I sell that, then I'm coming over for like 6 months or a year holiday, and then we'll just work out where we want to base and everything, and then we'll come back and sell the house and everything, and work out what we take and what we don't. And
America welcomes you. We want you here.
You just got to move in the center of the country.
In the what? Sorry?
You got to move into the center of the country. You got to stay off each coast.
Yeah, okay. We don't want to go near those tornadoes, though. Those tornadoes.
Hey, I've lived here my whole life, And even though I've moved to Alaska, I've moved to some other places, what I can tell you is if it's coming, you just, everybody else, they go down to shelter. You just have to get on the porch and pull your phone out and record it, and it'll leave you alone.
Just drink a beer
It'll
and
get
watch
straight
it.
past, yeah.
Yeah, just stand out there and flip off the tornado, and it'll be fine.
So you guys down in Australia, it seems like everything there will kill you. Like,
Yeah, there's a fit going on. I don't know if you've seen some of my videos, like that orange Pontiac that I was talking about. So that was down at the other property, and I was down there working on it, and we had the interior out of it, and painted all the floor, And I went inside and came back out, and there was a brown snake, eastern brown, in it. It's probably like I don't know, meter and a half so long. They're the second deadliest snake in the world. So the top, I think the top 5 deadliest snakes are all Australian, and I think 15 out of the top 20 or something are Australian. But yeah, so this is the second deadliest one. They're they're real aggro. This one was a little bit doughy, he wasn't very feisty for some reason. They're normally really, really aggressive, and I was I was puckering, I was white as a ghost. And I did a little video, and I realised the dog was out, so that was it. I dropped camera and put the dog away. And then when I came back, he was exiting through I had the indicator out of the rear quarter on it, and he slid into the boot. He come in through the door, went into the boot, and then went out through the little indicator hole and headed back out bush. And yeah, that was a pretty scary moment, that one.
Oh, it scares me because I don't like snakes here in the U.S. And yeah, you got one of the deadliest snakes in the world there, and it's like, no, I don't need any of that.
Well, so that's the channel's called Copperhead, right? So where I live is in Indigenous language, the Coralban it's called. That's means home of the copperhead. That's in Indigenous language, right? So, but they don't mean a copperhead snake. They mean a copper color-headed snake, which is the eastern brown. So where I live in Aboriginal, they're saying it's the home of the eastern brown snake. Because there's hundreds and thousands of them. They're everywhere. But yeah, we had one the other day in the shed. I closed the roller door, and when I closed the roller door, it fell down. And I'm not 100% what that one was. It could have been a brown, but I don't know. But yeah, the dog, I just pulled the dog because the little dog comes to the shed with me, and he's got a little cage he hangs in. So I just let him out of his cage. I closed the roller door. This snake just about dropped on us. And so I'm calling the dog away, and yeah, it was a bit of a panic. It went inside, went into my hot rod. And then I was in full freak mode because once he's in that shed, he could go anywhere. There's a trillion hidey spots in my shed, and luckily I've seen him inside the hot rod. And then at one stage he actually, because it's got no door handles in it at the moment, and he stuck his head through the door handle, has had his head sitting out waiting for me to walk past. I'm like,
that's a big nope. I'm just nope. I would just be like, you know what? I don't really like the garlic anymore. It's just done.
Hate that.
Well, that's why I've got to find them and get them out of there, because I hate them. I'm my mate is a snake catcher. That's what he used to do. That's Steve Irwin. He was like the original one of him. He does all that, handles all the deadly animals and whatever. Right. And and I'm the opposite. I'm absolutely petrified of them. So I had to find the snake. If the snake's in the shed, then I'm not going down to the shed.
Right.
Until it's found. I'm petrified. So.
Yep.
But we have all. There's a goanna. We've got a goanna that lives here. They'll attack you too. They're actually probably worse. My mates reckons they're a worse bite than a snake. So that's a lizard. It's they grow about 2 meters long, and they're probably a foot off the ground. I've got one of them that lives around the back, but we don't seem to. Me and him are okay at the moment.
Oh, good.
We scare each other, and then we just walk away from each other.
Hey, you guys got some huge spiders too.
Sorry, my thing just went stupid.
Said you guys got some massively huge spiders down there too.
Yeah, there's most of the big ones aren't that bad. It's the little ones that are deadly.
Right. That's kind of how it is here. It's the
Yeah.
big scorpions and stuff that you got out west that they look scary, but they're not as bad as the little ones that sneak up on you.
We don't have many scorpions.
Oh, good. Well, I wanted to grab in the chat real quick just to see who else popped in because I know I saw GTO Speed Channel popped in. Thanks for joining us. Mike, cousin Mike is here. Shopcat made it from Canada. And I thought I saw a few more. I don't want to miss them.
Rob's Rods and Streetcars.
Yep. And Tony Napoli, thank you for joining us. Lars made it in. JB's Little Shop's here. Yep, we said Rob. They'll pop him up here. John Shackelford, thank you for popping in. I see PJ's Rusted and Busted Garage. And they just keep coming in. But I didn't want to miss anybody. But I did go ahead and put Brett's channel in the chat there. So you guys can click on over, check out his stuff, because I know you're going to love it. That's why he's on our show tonight, because he's got good stuff and he's a lot of fun. And yeah, so I think we're all caught up. Now we can talk more about cars.
So that red Pontiac that's on your channel, that thing is absolutely beautiful. And you said it's got a 283 small block Chevy in it.
Yeah, 283 I built for it. It's just a stocky. I think it's 30 thou over, just dead stock, but then it's just got a extractors and a Elderbrock manifold and a Poly Sniper.
Well, that's cool. It's a beautiful car. I love seeing what you guys have down there. It's like Australia and Canada, you guys have totally different Pontiacs than we do.
But despite what Hunter will tell us, Chevy powered or not, they're still Pontiacs. They're just a little different.
Well, see, I copped that. I posted one of those Pontiac videos and I put it on a Pontiac Facebook page or whatever, and they gave me a hard time about the 283 Chevy in it. And
yeah,
I was like,
did they think that you swapped? I was going to say, did they think you swapped it? Because that's
they're
not
all like, "Oh, typical idiot putting a Chev motor in." I said, "It come out with a 283 in it. What are you talking about?" Like,
well, those are the idiots that don't know. And can you guys even get Pontiac engines down there? Is that even an option?
Nah. Well, I'm actually sort of glad that's what the other day I checked out the other one, which is a 350, and I wasn't sure if it was the Pontiac or the Chev, but it's definitely the Chev. But yeah, I was actually glad because to find parts would be near on impossible.
Yeah. You guys.
So like you go to there's not even any info, like as in for oil filters or oils or anything like that. There's not even any info in anywhere here for a Pontiac motor.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing is they didn't have them, so it's not like it's even an option. So when when you guys got the cars, it was you got what was shipped and put together there. We kind of we have that exclusive right to those unique Pontiac engines, which is why they're so dang expensive to rebuild.
So like with that 54 Star Chief, that's got the straight 8 in it, and it's not the most powerful thing, and I'm having a few issues with it. Just getting the carby, I just can't get it quite right. It seems to just be dropping in and out a bit. Like I just can't dial that carby in and stuff, and so I was humming and hawing about. I had an LS motor sitting there. I was like, "Oh, should I put it in? Shouldn't I?" And I was like, "I don't know what to do. I don't really want to. I like it all original, but should I like bite the bullet and because I don't drive it. I hardly drive it because I'm not 100% with the car, if you know what I mean. Like it's just going to break down on me or something. And because I live out in the country, so it's like 100 mile to do anything, to go to the city or to go to the beach or whatever. So each way, so it's like a bit of it. They're not just like driving it around the corner, and so yeah, I don't think I've driven it in 6 months because of it. And then I'm like, well, should I put an LS in it, and then I can use it, And then I don't really want to take away from it, and yeah, so I don't know
Right.
what to do. Yeah.
Well, Brent from Mongol's Garage, he's out of Canada, and he asked, do you guys have the Beaumonts?
No, I never heard of that.
Oh, well, basically, for those that don't know, my favorite year of Chevy Chevelle, the American car, the Chevelle, I like the 68, 69 body style. That body style was imported into Canada, and they retrofitted a Pontiac type grill onto it, but it's still a Chevelle looking car. It's all Chevelle underneath with just a few Pontiac attributes, but they call it the Pontiac Beaumont, but it's every bit of Chevelle. I personally love it.
There's not many Chevelles down here.
Right.
They were just like imported, but yeah, no, they didn't bring. They're basically, other than something that someone's imported, the only stuff they sold down here were the Parisians, whatever you want to call them. They were the only ones that got sold down here. Everything else that's here is imported.
Yeah.
And it will probably be left-hand drive, everything else, unless they've converted it.
So how is that going from left hand to right hand drive? Does it throw you off, or?
Nah, I don't mind it. Some people some people won't buy the left-hand cars down here, but I quite enjoy driving it. The only thing would be like driving on a highway, like just a single lane each way highway, and then having to overtake. That could be a little bit sketchy because you can't actually see what's coming. But other than that, I just look at the left-hand side of the road and like keep my car on that line or near that line, and I don't mind it. But I think I'll have more issue when I have to drive on the other side of the road. That's because I was like watch some clips sometimes when people are turning right, and I'm like, oh, he's about to have a head-on, thinking, oh, he's actually, yeah. So I reckon that might take me a little bit to get that sussed out. But yeah, I don't mind driving on the left end.
Yeah.
So
I could get used to it. It would just be like you just said. You have to kind of shift your mindset and go, okay, that's how they do it here. And I think after a while, as long as you don't get complacent, you'll get it.
Yeah. The one thing I think may be weird for me is in like a 4-speed manual.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah, because I'm like left hand, like changing that around, like as in changing gears with me right hand instead of me left. So that may be a little bit different,
Or that's just bring you one over that you can just keep on doing it with your left hand.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, my brain I think it would mess with me because the shift pattern would still be the same.
Yeah, just different hands.
But first gear would be like all the way up. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to drive one, find out.
Yeah, you'd like to drop a few gears in the wrong spot.
Let me move. I am probably going to bring some over, I think, because there's a few cars that I don't really want to sell.
Yeah, I totally
Even if
get that.
I can't drive them there, they're sentimental to me. Like the first few channel builds, I'm not parting with them. Like that Bedford that I built, I'm not going to ever sell that. And the one I'm doing now, I don't think I'll ever sell. The one I'm doing now is like my little, I don't know, it's like my little masterpiece, the one I'm building at the moment. Like I'm actually, the more I do to it, the more I start making more stuff, and I'm actually pretty proud of it. So the one I'm building at the moment. So I'm not selling that.
Just make sure there's no snakes or spiders in your car when you come over, because we don't need none of that.
Here's what I'll say. As long as there's no snakes in it, I got a big yard. You can park them until you find a spot. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to come over. I think what we're planning is we're going to come over and probably buy like a motorhome at the auctions. Because that's what I used to do. I used to build stuff at likes damage stuff at auction and fix it. So that's probably what I'm gonna look at doing when I get there, is doing the same thing, buying cars smashed, fixing them, selling them, as the income, and then like with the YouTube, you're like, who knows? One day maybe we can make a living off it. Who knows? But I
Yeah.
think I'd have more chance with my channel if I was based in America than I am based here.
That's one of the reasons. I got a lot of reasons why I moved out of Alaska, and I know there's a lot of good content out of Alaska, but there's not a lot of great card content in Alaska, and it's hard to network because you're not quite an island, but you're kind of an island on Alaska because you're just stuck there. And so coming back to Lower 48,
I'm targeting an American audience, but I'm probably not, because I'm based here. I don't get shared as much.
Right.
In America. So I've done a couple of Aussie cars. Like I did a Falcon Ute, which has been quite successful, but it's successful in Australia. The videos on that, but I don't really want to. That's not the audience I want to target, and It's not the cars I want to build. They don't really interest me. So yeah, I'm targeting more American audience, and I'm building and playing with American cars basically. So that's where my passion is with them. And but I think because I'm based here, I don't get shared or recommended as much in America.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on. It's not that we have a whole lot more subs than you, but we have a little bit different audience. Because I've seen, of course, you've been on our show and in the chats and on our YouTube, and of course I was on your show. You got cool stuff. You do great work. Like, your cars are awesome. And of course, you got the Aussie twist to it. So I feel like that commands a bigger audience.
Like, I do every single thing. Like, I make my own seats. Like, I sew the leather, I paint, I do my own fabrication, I do all my own mechanical. Like, I don't farm any piece of it out. Like, so it mightn't be. There'll be a lot of, like my interior aren't show quality interior, but they're decent enough,
Right,
like,
exactly.
And I do everything for basically free. Like, I'm that tight when it comes to spending my money. Like, so the cars I'm building are basically like unheard of what I'm building for the money in Australia. Like, because our stuff's it's not just our exchange rate's different. Like, I think we're like 65 cents to the dollar. So our exchange rate's nowhere near, but it's not even that. It's everything costs. It's not just the exchange difference in pricings. Everything is so expensive down here. Like, so a car, like anything with a chrome bumper, is a wrecked, rusted junker is $5,000. It's stuff that you guys could probably pick up for $300. Like, so, like an LS motor. I don't know what they're like, $300 to $500, I think, over there, and over here they're like $5,000 for an LS motor.
I will say, in the last few years, LS, even the truck engines, have come up. So some of that, it's starting to creep up. But we're seeing LS engines go for up to $1,000, $1,500 for what we were paying $300 to $500 for. So
yeah, well, here they're between $5,000 and $10,000, depending on what they are.
Yeah, that's definitely a big difference.
So like the 6.2 litre, you'll be paying $10,000 for it all day.
Yeah, I can see that.
Even though didn't the Holden, so a lot of the Holdens come out with the 6.0 and 6.2, or did you guys have different engine options down there?
No, so they all come out. That's where they all come from. They come from those Holdens. So the Commodores and the Statesman Caprices. So they sell those Statesman Caprices over there. The Holdens they sell as well. What we had is that they had a Commodore and a Monaro. They don't do many Monaros. They only did them for a couple of years, but they sell them. The Monaro's a GTO, like an 05 GTO Pontiac, the two-door one, and then you have the Commodore, which is like a, I don't know, an 08, 07 maybe up to 2010. I think you have, and I don't know what you call. I think you still call them GTOs as well. They're the four-door ones. And yeah, so they'll come out with 5.7s or 6 litres, and depending on what year, some 6.2s.
That was our.
But so that's where they're all coming from, all our motors.
Oh yeah, the 4-door was the G8. That's right, but it's basically the
G8.
same.
Yeah. But that's a Commodore. That's the G8 shape. That's the Commodores I used to do.
Yeah.
All right, give me 1 second, guys. I can't forget to do trivia while we're talking, because what you're talking about is so dang interesting. I enjoy every bit of it, but I don't want to miss trivia, and then we just keep going and miss it. I researched a little bit, and we've got some Australian type questions. I'm sure I'll get them wrong, but
I probably will too.
all right. So let's see. As always, guys, we have Pontiac Trivia sponsored by Super Clean. And we just have a few questions tonight because I didn't want to take up too much time away from our special guest. But let's go ahead and get through this first one and see what you guys think. So what era did Australia see its first Pontiacs arrive? Now, we're going Pontiacs, not Oakland, just to clarify, because, Oakland's still Pontiac, but it's Pontiac named vehicles. Let's see what people have to say. Oh, I guess I should read the answers. Is it A, 40s, B, 50s, C, 60s, or D, 70s? Do you remember? You probably weren't around.
No, I'm just thinking about what's around on the market. I'm going to say, I was originally going to say 60s, but then I'm thinking I'm going 40s.
Okay. Yeah, I was surprised because I would have said 60s myself. All right, we've got all kinds of answers from 60s, 50s. Does Nothing Special says N, because that's an answer. Danny Boyd says 40s. We're just kind of all over the place. So let's see what it is. And the answer is B, 50s.
50s.
Yeah, Pontiac first appeared in the 50s when Holden began assembling a complete knockdown Pontiac kit imported from Canada. And I just threw a picture in there to kind of give you an idea. They're literally getting cars in bins that they didn't have to assemble there, and it's just easier to ship that way.
So Holden originally was a bodybuilding company.
Oh, okay.
They were called Holdens. So like that 38 Chev that I'm building, that has Holden's badges on it.
Oh, wow.
That Oakland that I've got has Holden's badges on it too. So that's those bodies, like that 38 was sent over similar to this, but the actual body itself was made here. And then in the mid 50s, Holden started producing their own cars.
Well, let's go to the next one and see what it says. All right. So in the 60s, what name did the Pontiac Catalina go by in Australia? Is it A, the Bonneville, B, Silver Streak? Now, you got to tell me this one. Laurentian? Is that how did I say it wrong? Or Grand Prix?
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think how that's pronounced.
I've heard Brent from Mongo's Garage say it, and every time I hear him say it, it's different than anything I can pronounce. It's like somehow I have peanut butter in my mouth while I'm trying to do it. Well, I mean, most everybody's picking C. Well, there's one you probably don't have in Australia, an AMC Javelin.
Yeah. No, we do.
You do?
Yeah, they have them here.
Oh, cool.
Hornets, AMC Hornets and Javelins.
Very cool.
What do they call them? Ramblers, they call them. Rambler.
Okay. All right.
Rambler Hornet and Rambler Javelins.
Very cool. All right. I think everybody's going with the obvious one. And I think one of the coolest things I've found was looking at the Canadian and the Australian versions of the Pontiac is how similar they look to their Chevrolet counterpart. I mean, we think of Pontiacs as a certain look, and Buicks and Cadillacs, and they all have their own specific look. But when you look at these Pontiacs, but they're from, in other countries, they really do look a lot like the Chevy version. Oh, there you go. Danny Boyd, Laurentian. That's right. Every time Mongrels tells me, I still say it wrong. It's Laurentian.
See, that looks like a Biscayne to me.
Right.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does.
What year's that one? That must be a.
Oh, that'd be a 60s of some sort.
I think it's early 60s.
Yep, early 60s. Fox can fix it. Says that thing looks wider than Shakira's hips. Probably shakes like him too. I don't know.
So in your 65, you've seen my 65. Have you seen how it's got the indicators on the boot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yours don't have them, do they?
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope.
And trunk, you say, don't you? Trunk, not boot.
Mine doesn't have much of a boot or a trunk. It's pretty much all rotted. So you can call it whatever you want.
So I'm building a Triumph, and apparently in Britain it is also a boot. And what do you guys call the hood?
Bonnet.
Yep.
The bonnet, yes.
Bonnet, yeah.
So what Triumph are you building?
That's a Spitfire.
Okay.
It will receive a supercharged 3800 V6 out of a Grand Prix GTP in a rear-wheel drive configuration with a 5-speed.
Welcome, Raj Cam. And that's right. It's a bonnet. All right, let's go to this next one. As a subsidiary of GM, what year was Holden founded? Granted, they became GM subsidiary later, but what year was Holden founded? Is it A, 1856, B, 1880, C, 1910, or D, 1930? And I find it interesting that little tidbit of they were bodybuilders. I didn't realize that.
I'm going to go with 1930. I really honestly don't know, though.
All right, let's see. Danny Boyd, quick with D.
I'm gonna say C.
You're going to say C? All right. Tony says
Yeah.
C. Hunter says A. Raj Cam says D. 6% recycled D. Mongrel says B. Found I want to know when it was losted. Well, we all know when it was losted. Also, no Star Chief, but rather Strato Chief. Yeah, Shopcat's from Canada too. All right. PJ says A. Rob says A. GTO says A. Rajcam says body by Fisher, but down under. I guess so.
Yeah, that's what they are. Like my Parascenes are bodies by Fisher.
Yeah.
That's like the 60s ones.
John Wilburn says 11. Okay. Welcome, John.
Yeah.
But the answer is 1856. Make sure that was the correct one. Yep. Founded in 1856 as a saddlery manufacturer, South Australia. In 1908, it moved into the automotive field and became a subsidiary of GM. In 1931, when the company was renamed General Motors Holden. And it was renamed Holden Ltd. in 1998. So
I should have known that because when we talked about the Holden Monaro, you actually brought that up, and I must have forgotten.
Well, so did most of our chat. That's okay. And it is neat because we all think of Holden and the cars, right, that come out of it. But, just like most of the companies in the U.S., they might have started doing something else.
Well, like Lamborghini started making tractors. So.
That's right. And Rajcam, we actually answered this earlier, but the answer is no, they do not have Beaumonts. I think it's really just a very specific thing. So if you've got a Beaumont or you know where one's at, you have a hold of something that's unique. All right. We'll get to this last question so we get a few more minutes before the show is over. And I'll be honest, I just threw names out, so I don't want to hear any crazy stuff in the chat about which names I picked. We all know the answer. But in 2004, the Pontiac GTO rebirth in the U.S. was based on what Australian car? Is it the Suzuki Baleno, the Elfin T5 Clubman, the FPX XY GT Falcon, or D, the Holden Monaro? You guys know the answer already. I made it easy.
I'm going to go with the Elfin.
I didn't even know what one was. I had to look it up. I thought it was cool.
That's actually a real car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so's the FPX GT Falcon.
Hey, I'll say the Australian Falcons are really cool. You guys have some really cool Falcons down there.
Fox, you're right. It ended yesterday. Sorry, Brett, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there's a inline 4-liter inline 6-cylinder they do here. It's called a Barra motor.
Oh yeah.
And they are ridiculously good. It's a pity you don't have them. So I had one. There might be one video on the car. It was a purple Ute, Falcon Ute, and it had a turboed one of them in it, and it was 1,000 horsepower. It was the scariest thing I've ever driven.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just so unpredictable when that thing would boost up. Like it used to go to like 30-pounder boost, but I only could hold it to about 25-pounder boost. Like I've never got it past there because it was getting too sketchy at that point.
So there's a couple of Australians that came over here for drag week, and they had Barra swap Fox body Mustangs, and I want one now.
Yeah, they're crazy, and you can get about 2,500 horsepower. Apparently, they're pushing out of them now.
I'll tell you what,
I haven't heard of. It's like ridiculous.
You send me a Barra, and I'll send you an LS.
You're going to have to send a lot of LSs to do that swap. Oh, Fox says he can get 30 pounds of boost if he eats too much Taco Bell. Yeah, I think we all could, or we'll blow a gasket, one or the other. All right, so the answer is obviously the Holden Monaro. I just want to put that out there. We should all know this. And yes, it was one of the last Pontiacs that was made because it was technically a Holden, and it was ran with an LS1 engine. So all the LS hate, the last Pontiac had an LS in it. So
it had an LS too, actually.
If you flick that picture back up, that bonnet and or hood and front bumper.
Yep,
that's the only difference in that car to what we had here. Which yours are way more aggressive looking and we're I think nicer looking, but that's the same with the what is it, the G8? It's the same. It's your hood and front bumper are different.
Gotcha.
Than what they have here. Yeah,
because our Pontiacs, that's it's that Ram Air thing that GM started in the 60s, or Pontiac started in the 60s with the GTO and the Trans Am with the dual snorkel hood scoops. So they've been aggressive, and I do like that they kind of continued that over onto the Holden Monaro and the G8.
And that's been the thing the whole time, isn't it? The Pontiacs have always had a bit of a bit different front on them. Like they're all a bit more aggressive and a bit like they're always if you compare like my 65 front to a 65 Chev, the Pontiac's so much nicer. It's got so much better lines and blinged out grills, and even back into older ones. So I seen like a 30s Pontiac. And it must have been a thing, like how like my Star Chief has my 54 has the chrome strip that runs through the whole bonnet and onto the hood and onto the trunk.
Right.
So I've seen like a 30s one, and it had the same thing. So it must have been they must have just done that for a period of 10 or 20 years, where they ran that.
Yeah.
Big chrome.
It was just kind of their their signature thing they did.
And then the Pontiac, what is it? The Chief or whatever, the hood emblem.
Yep.
The Indian hood on that. Yeah, I've got the light up Indian head on mine.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Indian head.
I love it. Yeah, so I always wanted a Cadillac. I always wanted a 54 Cadillac. And then I seen this. I'd never seen one. And I seen this come up for sale, and it was like pretty good price. And then I went and looked at it, and I just handed me money over straight away. Didn't even. Yeah, and I just love that. Like that light up Indian head just looks unreal, I reckon.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. Well, gosh, that hour went by fast. I was kind of shocked how quickly it went, but it was so much fun. Learning all kinds of new stuff, and of course the subtle differences between us and Australia. And I got to be honest, I'm super excited for when you come over. Wherever you go, I'll try to find you. You just tell me where you're at. I'll come to
Yeah,
you.
we're going to go on a tour, and I think like I've met that many people now, like over there through YouTube and stuff. So I'm gonna like even when I come over on holidays, I'm just gonna keep making videos, and I'll do probably tee up and do with heaps of different people and do some little, like, I don't know, will it runs or
Oh
little,
yeah,
day or 2 day little videos and stuff together and stuff.
I
We've been
know where
playing.
there's piles of cars. You just tell me what you want, and we'll go find them.
Well,
Yeah,
we will have to hook him up with Dalton from Lemans Garage.
Oh yeah,
I had him on the show last week.
yep, he did. It was a good show.
Hmm.
You guys
I don't know.
together
I had a few issues on that show, but that's
That's why I loved it, because that was real. That was uncut. It was raw. And of course, Dalton being Dalton, he just runs with it. But it was great. It was a great show. I really enjoyed watching you guys. So, all right. Now I want to add in that I have thrown Brett's channel up in the chat. Go check him out. I mean, all kinds of car stuff, Australia stuff. And of course, you get that delicious accent in every single part of it. So go ahead and give him a sub. Let's get him up and get more action on his channel. And also right after this, we got Irish Outlaw Garage, who's doing Cars and Cussin', which is his live show. I put the link in the chat. You guys jump over there and go visit him. He's been busy, and he's always a lot of fun to listen to. But with that, do you got anything to add, Brett? Anything you want to tell our viewers?
Nah, just thanks for having us on, eh? That's
all right.
Hope everyone enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I personally enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did too. If they didn't, just click to the next video. But this one was a great one, and we appreciate having you. All right. So with that, we'll see you guys next week, and thanks for watching us.
Have a good one, guys and gals.